All right. In all seriousness, let's bring it back to reality. Say you're sitting, and you have, someone black next to you that you're talking to. They're chill. You're talking whatever. Do you understand the divide that creates between you and them when you say that you and your family are born at a higher IQ than they and their family are? And do you understand that that is an insurmountable wedge that you are wedging between you and this other person, and how awkward and off and weird that is? Do you know what I'm saying? You're sitting with this person who's a black person, and you're like, me and my family are born with higher IQs than you and your family. What's up? Do you understand like how you and that person can never fully be fully be cool after that?
Well, that's your first mistake, assuming that I'm going to sit next to somebody with 60 IQ.
So no, they have to be 60 IQ. I just said a black person. Are you assuming they all
Yeah,
have fucking 60 IQ?
if I'm sitting next to a black person, that black person's not going to have 60 IQ. He's going to be one of the good black people.
You don't ever okay, so you're streaming, and like a viewer comes up and they're black and they sit with you. You don't know their IQ, you don't know anything about them. And then you are saying publicly that you think your family has higher IQ than their family. Do you understand like how that is going to make
I
that
don't
person
think that
feel?
automatically. No, you're putting words in my mouth. I don't think I have a higher IQ than a random black person that
Yeah, you
I've never
do.
talked
Yeah,
to
you do.
before.
Because if you think that white people are born statistically with higher IQs than black people, then statistically speaking, when you meet a black person, you will have a higher IQ to them than them because there's more.
Nope.
Because yes, sir.
It's based on how they present themselves.
No, you're saying that statistically speaking, more black people have lower IQs than white people. So that means that statistically, when you meet somebody, odds are you're going to have the higher IQ. Is what you think.
Okay. If I see a group of 30 black people, I'm gonna assume I have higher IQ than 28 of them, okay? But if I'm sitting next to one black person, I don't know what his IQ is because it's just one person. It's not a group.
That's actually the dumbest thing I've ever said. So now you would take into statistics, you would take into the count that there's 1 versus 1, and you would do the math. 28 out of 30 are lower IQ than me, and then you would fucking do the math and break it down into versus 1, and it would make, and then you would see what the fucking odds are. So obviously that's retarded. It's just like a way to view them because you're always going to put yourself in an awkward position with others that are not the
Yeah,
same
but who
as you.
cares, Gary? Who cares? How do you
Because that
make
doesn't
sure?
seem like reality of humanity.
How do you make sure that the world you live in is safe? You judge
Yeah,
everybody based on statistics.
situational awareness in the moment.
You judge everybody based on statistics.
Sure, but also it's a lot of things. It's where you are, it's how people are dressed, it's how they're acting, it's how they're moving, how their body language. It's a lot of things. It's more than just race. And then again, even if it is race, even if black people are sketchier than white people, again, it doesn't mean that it's genetically determined. It could be environmental. So even if that is true, it doesn't mean it's genetics. My main problem is if you think it comes down to genetics, I think is where it's weird. I think that's where it's weird, is if you think it comes down to specifically genetics is where I think
Well, what else could it be?
I think you're off the handle or whatever on that one. If you think it's genetics, I think that's where you sound crazy.
What else could it be, Gary?
Like I said, environmental, 100%. It's genetics. It's genetic composition when it comes to the individual. Some people and some babies are just born smarter than others in the way that their chromosomes come together or whatever it is. The way their brain forms, they just happen to be better at certain things than others. And then it comes down to the parents, specifically the nuclear family, which is the mother and father being at home with the kids. And then also it comes down to the country you're born in. And if you're, the social status, everything around you is what it comes down to. But in my opinion, it doesn't come down to one race has a higher IQ genetically than the other. I think that sounds crazy. I think you're off on that.
Okay, so how come when you have parents of an immigrant, right? They go to Europe and they're raising their children in Europe, which is a better environment than where they came from. How come their babies usually still end up being like violent criminals?
Who does?
The immigrant babies.
When they move to where do they move in? Where are they moving from? From where to where?
Like, let's say some immigrants from Africa moved to France, right? And then they raise their kids in France, which is nicer than Africa.
Uh-huh.
How come their babies will always end up being violent criminals, anyways?
Well, if they move from Africa to France, they're probably not moving to good parts of France. It's probably similar to like when someone from Africa would move to America, they'd probably move to like a ghetto or like
Well,
somewhere
they
that's like
used
poor. It's the same thing,
no,
probably.
they used to be good parts of France, but I mean now they're because they're there. But before they got there, it was nice, and then when the first couple got there, it was still nice, and then when too many of them got there, it went to.
Too many people that don't have enough money to go around and they're poor. And so poor people create neighborhoods. But it's not, it just sounds like it's situational and it's not the fact of their race being connected. Like, don't you see that it's like clearly a
I mean,
situational
okay,
thing?
let me put it this way. I've done a lot of IRL streaming. The only times that I can think of that I've been pressed on my stream is usually by
That's
black
not,
people.
I know again, but that doesn't, if you're pressed by black people, that's not giving you the reasoning for why black people are the one pressing you. It's not,
Well,
it's still,
I
it's
act
not
the same
defining.
around.
Yeah, but
I act the
that
same
doesn't
around
tell
other
me.
people.
No, I know, but I'm saying like that's still, and then you can bring it back to the original argument of, you know, if it's genetic or environmental. Just because they're pressing you, the real reason is why they're pressing you. So them pressing you doesn't prove the point of it being genetics.
Yeah, it's not really genetics, Gary. I think we have an understanding here. We're on the same page. It's not
Okay,
only
well that's the
genetics.
main point though. The main point,
I'm
I think
saying
hold on, the part about it being genetics is where it really comes across as sounding
I
crazy.
I'm saying that it is the way you're raised and your culture, but if you put a white person and a black person in the same environment, I still think the black person will end up more violent than the white person.
Okay, so but then you think it's down to the fact that they're a black person versus a white person. So you do think it's
It
genetics.
it's because they think a little differently.
And they think differently because they are African descent?
No, it has nothing to do with their skin color. It has to do with their brain development.
And but they have their
This is what
brain.
it is, Gary. Blacks and whites genetically are the same, okay? But since there's been so many generations of black people, only breeding the most violent and stupid versions of themselves, that's what they end up being.
Okay, yeah, no, okay, that's actually an argument for like I feel like environmental and for family. Like I said, the nuclear family, the environment, that means it's not genetics and it's the immediate things around them. So yeah, it's the family around them. It's their parents and their grandparents and their great grandparents and all that. But it's not their brains, the way their brains are made, and their genetics. Yeah. So you agree
No,
with what I've been
it
saying at
is
the same time.
it's the way their brains have been made after generations of certain breeding. Um, the new age brains of certain groups of people are underdeveloped and different than other groups of people.
They're not underdeveloped. No, I see what you're saying, but no, I don't agree.
All right, that's why they have 67 IQ.
First off, apologize for calling me a retard.
I'm so sorry. I did it for comedic purposes. I apologize if it was off color.
So we have to stop arguing in terms of left and right wing politics and just look at the facts. Okay. So what's important to note is that with respect to Israel in my own Jewish background, okay, I'm not religious in any capacity. It is important to say that evangelical Christians support Israel more than Jewish Americans, according to polling data in 2025, 2024. That's facts. Okay, those are facts. Also, Jesus was a Jew. Okay, I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying facts. Jesus was Jewish. Okay? Were you scary?
I mean, I don't, that's a bit private.
Okay. Well, if you were,
I
it's
was,
because
yes,
of the,
I was.
if you were, it's because of the Jewish religion. It's because of the Abrahamic religions, right?
I mean, sometimes everyone's right sometimes.
Right. So the biggest reason why America cares so much about Israel is because of Christianity, and that's exactly why Europe is in such a bad position in terms of its migration policy, because Christians are taught to be as empathetic as possible and to essentially worship Jews. Okay? Because Jesus was a Jew. Jesus went to rabbinical school. He had a bris. He went through the entire rituals that Jews went by, and all the apostles were also Jewish. You can look it up.
Hmm.
All the apostles were Jewish. So Jesus was a messianic claimant, okay, to the Jewish religion. He wanted to be the Jewish Messiah. And what happened as a result was that he failed to convince most of the Jews that he was the Messiah. And then what happened afterwards was that he went on against the Jewish religion and went on to basically create his own version of Judaism, right? Which included converting people to Judaism through Christianity and then having them believe that he was the Jewish Messiah. That's why that's why the New Testament is part of the Old Testament. That's why it's a single Bible. You understand me?
What are you talking about?
Okay, so
So
why?
you
but
have
let
to
me
do
ask
your
you this.
research.
I know. What
Paul
you're saying.
Benino?
What you're saying makes sense.
Carl, you are a
Hold on.
spawn of Satan, bro.
Yeah, I'm a spawn of Satan. You have to get your head out of your ass, and you actually have to research.
Bro, I went to catechism. I went to school for church. I went to catechism. I did all my regular Catholic bullshit, and they never mentioned Jewish people ever. No, nothing was ever mentioned.
Why do you think the Pope wears a little Jewish hat? Let me ask you that. Why
He
do you
doesn't
think
wear
the
a
Pope
yarmulke.
wear a Jewish hat? Let me
pull up a picture of the Pope.
Full stop. Full stop. Why does the Pope wear a Jewish hat?
Well, why does he wear a Jewish hat? What is with that?
Why does he wear a hat?
I don't know, dude.
Also, more importantly,
Why does he wear-
why do a lot of Muslims wear little hats too? Why do a lot of Muslims wear little hats?
It's because they're balding, dude. That's why they all
No,
wear
it's
hats.
not because they're balding. It's because of the Abrahamic rituals. It's the Abrahamic religion. What's the actual problem, Paul?
The actual
what's the
problem is that
Ice?
we are trying to treat everyone equally when we shouldn't.
I'm not. Hey, did I say anything about that just yet?
Can we get Carl?
You're jumping the gun.
Carl,
you're jumping the gun.
Carl, you were watching when Paul was giving like his analysis and everything. Do you want to give like a little? Do you want to give like a little?
I put it on mute and I just copy and pasted what I was copy and pasting. But with all due respect, I did catch a little bit of what Ice was saying. I'm not in complete disagreement with it. I think it's overtly reductionistic. I think Ice is on the right track. But he doesn't, like, for example, with genetics play an overwhelming role in shaping who you are as a human being. There's too much evidence to support that. Iceland, and you can Google this, Iceland has completely eliminated the proliferation of Down syndrome within its native population. Almost entirely. There's no people with Down syndrome on Iceland. That's been the case for the past 20 to 30 years. Why do you think that is? They have basically practiced eugenics to the fullest capacity to eliminate.
That was with like scientific
Iceland
intervention.
has zero crime. Why is that?
But hold on.
Okay, so that's overtly.
We all know the answer to that.
We all know the answer to that, but I'm trying to prove listen, it's called building an argument, Ice. Okay, it's called being intelligent. You're not being very intelligent right now, so let me talk to Gary. So listen, why is that? I'm just saying that, listen, there's a biological and genetic basis for most of your behavior. I'm not suggesting that intelligence is something that could be shaped. It is something that could be cultivated. But it's like the seed and soil analogy. You know the seed and soil analogy? If you have a corrupt seed, doesn't matter what the quality of the soil is, a plant isn't going to grow. If the soil is corrupted, if you piss in it and you put booze in it, then the seed will do its very best to grow into something.
Real quick, can I just ask you?
But if the soil and the seed are corrupted,
I understand.
You won't get
But it just in relation to what Paul was saying, do you think that comes down to like an individual like child being born basis, or do you think that comes down to the collective of the race
100%.
that's being? But do you think that comes down to the collective of the race that's giving birth to the baby?
First off, he's talking. We have to be clear here. Paul probably doesn't like black people because of how they look and how they act. Okay,
what? No, hold on. That is absurd and retarded. That has nothing to do with it.
I'm just making an assumption
First of all, I don't dislike them, okay? I actually enjoy them as long as they are the ones who aren't violent, because they're funny. I like that they're funny. I like that they smell good. They have good cologne taste, but the ones that are violent, I don't want them.
The deepest type of racism that you can practice is racism, look at ICE's preference in women. They are blonde-haired, they are blue-eyed, they are as pale as white can be. This man, okay? So people always talk, oh my God, I prefer white guys, I prefer black guys. That is the deepest form of racism, but that's another topic entirely. Let's just focus on the core fact here, okay? The core issue, which is trying to explain why certain populations and certain divisions within those populations behave a certain way as opposed to another way, right?
Yes.
There are genetic reasons, there are environmental reasons, there are cultural reasons. There are smart EBZs working in universities throughout the world, working on cancer research. All right.
EBZs, like, bro, what are you saying? Just say
Okay,
it
but
how
there
it is.
are. There's,
Just say it how it
I'm
is,
saying there's
Carl.
20 of
Don't
them. I'm
call them
saying there's 40
EBZs.
of them.
What are they? What are
There's
they?
40. You got to reach out. There's 40 of them. They don't want to be in the spotlight. There's about 40 of them, okay? But the vast majority of EBZs are EBZ, and that is a statistical average. It is a statistical mean. It is just, well, I'm not, okay, listen. That's all I'm saying. That we're talking about statistical averages. The only way
Okay,
to
yeah, but no, you have to go deeper into that, and you have to say why you think that
we
that
have
is the case.
bioengineering. Listen to me. Bioengineering, CRISPR, singling out certain gene sequences that are responsible for intelligence, injecting babies with them. I'm talking about designer babies. I'm talking about embryonic
No,
gene
you're not.
engineering.
You're talking
I'm talking
no,
about
you're not.
eugenics to the max. I'm talking about
No, you're
you
not.
creating the most beautiful baby out of your wife's eggs, and you will be you're just going to be like, this baby was supposed to be retarded given the probabilities, but it didn't happen. That's the future of population control. Now let's talk about blacks. With blacks, okay, it's a complicated problem because a lot of them are smart and capable, but they have a cultural problem, and some of it might be underpinned by genetics, okay? Paul is jumping to extremes. He's not taking intricacies into consideration.
Yeah, Carl. The moment we start taking intricacies into consideration, people die.
Okay, so that's my point. Are you suggesting mass sterilization of the African American population or simple
Bro,
segregation?
bro,
What are you
please.
suggesting?
No, I
Please.
didn't say that. I
Neither
said
of
we
those,
should
God,
put.
for the love of God.
I said we should put people who are stupid in concentrated areas, and then they have to take IQ tests and prove
Okay.
themselves to re-come into society.
It's been proven scientifically that the more you take an IQ test of a certain type, the more you improve on average on that type of IQ test. If every IQ test taking can be a learned ability. Now, here's my question to you, ICE. If you take it, look, ICE as in Immigration Customs Enforcement, but I digress. If you take a one IQ test and you up at it, okay? Are you allowed to take another IQ test again to get out of your hood? Let me ask you that.
You have to wait another year, once a year.
Once a year. Okay, so everyone eventually is just going to be like collecting answers and trying to figure out how to do these IQ tests, but you're going to probably make sure that they can't learn how to do them, correct?
Oh no, I would make sure that they are different IQ tests every time.
What if I told you that they'll train themselves how to do these IQ tests, okay? And then they'll get out of whatever situation they're in, they'll enter your place, and they will a lot of people.
If
For no
there
apparent
is
reason.
if there is a statistical thing that's happening where every single one of them that come out and pass their IQ test, then we don't even give them the chance to take the IQ test.
Right, but they might be concealing. Well, first off, do you want jurisdiction over those areas in any capacity where the IQ tests have not been administered? Meaning that people that don't have the IQ qualifications to live in your neighborhoods, are they living in separate areas? And do you monitor
No,
their criminal?
dude,
They're just separate states, right?
if I was Earth's leader, I would send them all to Mars, and then they could make themselves useful, and they can colonize Mars. And if they're violent on Mars, then so be it. It's Mars. Who cares?
Okay, so
But if
you're
they're
basically so send all people that don't pass your Raven matrices. Like you would give them what kind of an IQ test would it be? And by the way, you're talking about anybody can have a high IQ and be a part of your society, even if they're butt ugly. Hey,
yeah,
Ice, if they're dog ugly, what if the smartest people on Earth were dog ugly, and you
who
wouldn't?
cares?
Really?
What
You
does
don't
it
care
matter
about
if they're
beauty?
ugly?
Okay, interesting. Okay then.
Carl,
So
Carl, let me ask you a question.
have
Let
to
me
be
ask you a question.
yes.
If we sent all of the statistical violent individuals and groups of people to Mars, would
Yeah.
Earth be a better place?
Objectively, it will be a better place to live. 100%.
So what's the argument here?
The argument is that you will potentially eliminate a portion of the population. Not that it's likely to happen, but just it's a thought exercise. Think of it as a thought
Not
exercise.
eliminating the population. They're on Mars doing something useful for humanity. They're colonizing Mars, and then when they build,
They would fail at it. What the fuck? You're giving them a death sentence. You're not hearing
okay,
yourself? You're indirectly telling them that they're going to die.
No, but here's the thing. The smart ones will thrive and they will filter themselves out naturally. And then
How?
when
What kind of
Mars
equipment
is,
are they going to get? What kind of equipment are they going to get? How do you know that the dumb ones won't coerce the smart ones into doing their bidding for them and they'll be thriving through brute force? And the dumb prick is actually making more and more of these babies while the smart ones actually reduce themselves in pop. Like, how do you know the actual outcomes of this?
because if you're trying to colonize Mars, you're going to set parameters on who can have babies and who can't.
Right. You're going to set. So this is basically like a Hunger Games situation, right?
I
So
mean,
it's not
honestly, that should just be in today's world. If you're retarded and violent and have a criminal
really.
record multiple
You
times
don't think
over, you
Hunger
shouldn't
Games?
be allowed to have a baby.
Right. So, in other words, if
that's
you're
him standing
retarded and
holding
you
the
don't have
mic
what
and
it
talking.
takes to basically foster children, you shouldn't be doing it. Well, what about people that get a tremendous amount of wealth and they don't have the IQ requirements to produce children? Can they just do it because they have money?
Yeah, there's multiple different things, right? The
Really?
money, IQ, social standing with people in your society. So if you have low IQ and no money, as long as you're a good person in your society with like some kind of social
Okay, but what do you
rating,
think about bioengineering? What do you think about genetic engineering? Are you for it
I
or against it?
no, I love it.
Okay, so in other words, why not just sterilize all of them instead of sending them to Mars? Like, because that's essentially what you're arguing. Like,
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, you sterilize people until they pass certain parameters, and then when they pass the parameters, then you can give them the ability to have children.
gotcha. So you're talking about like doing a on most African Americans is
Not just not just them, everybody.
everybody.
Every single person that is born from here on out is taken, their ability to have children is taken away, and then we give it back to them when they reach certain parameters.
Reach certain parameters. I don't know. Gary, what do you think about that?
Woo! It's a lot to digest.
And then you also set a limit, right? You set a limit where you can only have 2 babies per household. Because you don't want to have 20 a single family having 20 babies and then taking over the culture. You know what I mean?
So
No,
population control.
No, we need more babies.
Population control is the solution. That's what we're all arguing, right, Gary? Like you are a population control advocate, and so is ICE.
I'm not a
Why
population
not?
control.
You don't. Do you want everyone to like have like 20 kids and discriminately and have like retarded children running around
No.
everywhere, or do you want? So you're a population control advocate.
No, not 20 kids, but I would assume a nice normal family, 2 to 4 kids, or 1 to 2 kids, or I don't know, like a couple kids,
I mean,
like a regular family.
Are you an advocate for population control, ICE?
At this point, yeah.
Okay, so ICE is a eugenics.
No, I'm not. I'm not for
advocate.
population control. Hell no. We
And
need more Americans. We need more generations of Americans.
Right. So what kind of Americans do you want?
I'm looking for people that have been people. We need to get some cohesion happening across America.
Gary, this is the problem with humanity nowadays. We are holding ourselves back from moving on to the next step of humanity and greatness, okay? We're trying to bring everybody forward with us. That is the problem. We can't do that. Evolution-wise, right? From the dawn of man.
No, I know that's crazy.
Only the strongest have been able to succeed. Only the strongest have been able to succeed. If we tried to carry everybody since the dawn of man, humans would have went extinct.
The only reason the smartest have any advantage over the strongest now is because of the civilization that we've developed. We've basically enabled the proliferation and development and the compensation of intelligence. Intelligence was not rewarded before, but now we have
I know.
Yes.
Society is too easy now, Carl. You're right, and that's the problem. If since society is too easy,
because we're so
if you
smart.
will, if
We're
you
so
if
smart.
you
We have so
yeah,
much money.
my point is, if you allow anybody to just create offspring unchecked, you're gonna
100%. It's a
end up.
problem. Yeah.
It's a problem. You're gonna end up with the worst people in humanity. Like humans, it'll be idiocracy. All the stupid, violent, horrible people are gonna be the ones remaining.
This program was made possible by contributions from viewers like you. Thank you.